So let me run through what our agenda is. So if you're like me, you like to know where we're going and where we're at. So we are going to talk first with Ceci about why this election is so important. Thank you so much for being here, being our special guest, Ceci. And then we're going to talk through the project and tips on how to create this beautiful face that we all love so much. And then we're going to talk about how to use Neutrino, because a lot of people here are new to Neutrino, and we want to help get you off on the right start. And then we're going to end by talking about this idea that Allison and I have, and Ceci's going to help us with, of energizing ourselves and our friends to really do actionable things other than knitting a shirt. We want to get people energized. The majority of Americans are burnt out. They're not active politically. Those are the people we really want to target this year, get them registered to vote, have democracy parties. We have lots of ideas on what we can do to really turn out the vote this year as part of this knitting community that we all love so much. So that's our agenda. There's 4 things. And then we will, if there's time, we're going to play a game at the end, and we have some prizes.
Yes. Shall we introduce ourselves? I don't think we did yet.
Yes, yes, let's introduce ourselves and our special guest. Ceci, you want to go first?
Sure. I'm so happy to be here. So wherever you're joining, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My legal name is Cecilia Nelson Hurd. In the fiber space, I never go by that. So I'm known as Ceci, either from Ceci Knits the World, or as creative Ceci, or as the creator of February. If you've played the February challenge, I am a DEI advocate, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm advocate, and I'm somebody who strongly believes in voting as a right and as a responsibility. It's something that we should take seriously. So when my friends, Allison and Andrea, said, "Hey, would you want to knit this, and would you want to join us?" I'm always a yes, and anytime they call, I always answer. So thank you.
Thank you.
Andrea, why don't you introduce you?
I'm Andrea, and I live in rural Oklahoma. So I am getting to be quite skilled at learning to talk to people who think very differently than I do, without getting shot.
You don't want that. Yeah,
you always just start with the assumption that they're probably carrying. So, and I'm Allison. Andrea and I are sisters, for those who don't know, and we are the founders and only people at Neutrino. If you're new to Neutrino, thank you so much for being here. It is our life's work, and we have invested everything, pretty much our life savings and 5 years of work in building this knitting app and community, and it's really important to us. And so we're thrilled that you're here and that you're participating. And always, if you have questions, we're here to answer. Yeah, somebody mentions that they'd love some tips, and we're going to cover that shortly. So Andrea, back to you.
And really quick, let's introduce our yarn collaborators that were able to join us today. We have Robin from Birch Hollow Fibers, and I actually just cast on Robin's color Tenacity.
Here. I'm going to unpin myself and see if that lets me pin other people. Let's see. Can I pin? So you just said Robin? Can't find her yet. How about doing Kim next?
And then Kim is with Kim Dyes Yarn, and Ceci and Allison both are casting on her sweater colors next.
Yeah.
The color was Blue Wave. I'm so in love with it.
Hi, Kim. Thanks for being here. Oh, she's got her Blue Wave.
Oh. And then we also have Janice from Queen City.
Okay. Let me get Janice.
And I'm actually wearing Janice's color. Janice got this to me so fast that I knit it first. This color is called MVP. Get her up there.
She's yeah. Can you unmute? I don't know if you can.
All right, I'm unmuted.
Okay.
Yeah, so MVP is actually a color we designed we had designed it, but when we saw Kamala's inauguration jacket, we were like, hey, we've got that color on the shelf that hasn't been debuted yet. So that is MVP, Miss Madam Vice President.
You're going to have to change the name soon to MP.
I mean, we'll see what she comes up with for the inauguration. We might have another
most valuable president.
Yeah.
Most valuable.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, Janice, and thanks for the awesome colors. We've now knit, I think, 4 different colors in your yarns because we had the most of them. And we're getting ready to cast on, as Andrea said, Kim's and some of the others. Okay, let's see who else is here. Unpin. Andrea, you mentioned Robin. Do you see her? Is she here?
I thought she was here. Robin with Portugal.
I'm here. I'm
There you are.
Hi.
There's so many people, it's hard to find people.
My picture isn't up on the screen because I'm
That's okay. That's a pretty
Beautiful.
hopping in for a little bit before I get back to my kid.
What a nice porch.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for being here. And I think Andrea has your color.
I do.
Yeah,
I love this pink
Love it.
so much. Tenacity is a great name.
it is a great name.
Thank you. I always love collaborating with you guys, and it's always fun. And you guys are always so warm and welcoming. So thank you for asking me.
Thank
Yeah,
you for
we're
doing
thrilled.
it. It's
All right. And then let's see. I don't know if Neighborhood Fiber made it. Has anyone seen
I haven't seen that.
Karita or
Karen.
Karen? No, I don't think they're here. If you're here, let us know. Okay, I'll pin myself back. So now we got the introductions.
We want to start by talking about why this election is so important. And Ceci, let's just start with that question.
Sure.
Why do you think this election is so important?
Well, again, I get very passionate about this, and there's so much at stake. And as somebody who is in the DEI space, the diversity, equity, and inclusion space, every day there is a headline that DEI is under attack. Every day there's a headline about voters' rights and women's rights and trans rights. And so I did want to take some notes because I wanted to make sure that I was clear. So just give me a minute, please. And so the things that I wrote down that are important during this election is, first and foremost, it's I just said to the young ladies while we were waiting to get started, it's bigger than Kamala. This is about protecting democracy. Right. It's about this election is a crucial moment for safeguarding democracy in the US. And so, yes, you can be, it's less about your party of choice, but what do you believe at your core? Which is why when watching the DNC, it was really affirming to see so many Republicans come over to say, this is bigger than the people, that this is about democracy and what's important. And so that's key. Whether it's upholding our norms or protecting voting rights or ensuring that every citizen's voice is heard, the democracy is on the ballot. Second, it's making sure that we continue to advance social justice and equity. So making sure that this election, it offers an opportunity to address the systemic inequities that exist, whether it's healthcare or education or economic opportunities for all. So by voting, we can support that policies that promote fairness and justice for all in all communities stays front and center. Third, and which is really important to me, is women's rights and reproductive freedom. This is making sure that people have their own agency over their bodies, right? It's not pro-life or pro-choice. It's I can control my body and I make the decision that's best for me, whether I choose pro-life or pro-choice. It's I have this right. And so I want to make sure that we keep that front and center. Other things that are important. We are temporarily inhabitants of this earth. And so climate action is really important. And so making sure that we stay connected to the climate pact and the work that we're trying to do as a country from a global sustainability perspective is key. Fifth for me is economic opportunity, and workers' rights. So making sure that we are focusing on opportunities for all Americans, particularly from a minimum wage perspective. There are people who barely make enough to make ends meet, and God forbid if there's a illness. There are people who go broke because of illness, which also brings us to healthcare and making sure that healthcare and affordable healthcare is available. It's the right of everyone who lives in this country. Second, I keep saying second. I don't know why I keep going to second.
Okay, they're all second. There's like democracy and everything.
Then it's continuing to defend civil rights and fighting against any laws that would harbor or create inequities for anyone. So making sure that we could continue to fight for the progress that we made. So we're not rolling back, right? So we have to move forward. I mentioned healthcare and access and affordability, national security and global leadership. We are a superpower, and who we partner with is key. So having a leader that is going to connect to our allies, and we're going to focus on moving forward and strengthening our power is really important. Importance of youth engagement. It's so important that our young people don't get disillusioned by what they see in the media or by what they hear by certain news agencies. It's important that they feel that they matter and that they're engaged. And so we have to use this as an opportunity to stay connected to our young people so they are educated and they go out and vote. And then finally, which I think is really important, is unity and progress. It's making sure that we have a choice to say that we're making a decision to move forward together as the name of our country is indicated. We are the what? United States of America, right? We're not the divided and segregated states. And we know that does exist, but our goal is to really move forward as one. And as they say, we're not going back. And so for me, as I said in the beginning, voting is not just a right, it's a responsibility. I'm the child of immigrants, and both my mother and my grandmother made the decision to give up their country citizenship to become Americans. And my grandmother, up until she was 97, voted. As soon as she became a citizen, even when it was hard for her, she made sure. So her last election was Obama, and it brings me such joy to know that my grandmother went from seeing, when she first came to this country, while women could vote, Black people couldn't vote.
Right.
And then when Black people got the right to vote, my grandmother voted each and every time, no matter what was happening. If it was cold, if it was rainy, she was out there voting. And so I think about the people who literally died so that we could have this right to vote. It's a right, but it's a responsibility. And I think that's so important. And so I'm here to say, get involved, stay connected. There's something you can all do, whether you're making your Kamala shirt, whether you're doing postcards to voters, as I've been doing, whether you're phone banking, you're knocking on doors, you're driving the elderly so they can vote. There is a role that we can each play, because I don't want any of us to sit on the sidelines. Because while I as a knitter, I thought that the Pussy Hats was a nice idea, but the Pussy Hats was a protest that did nothing.
Yep, exactly. That's our big thing. We're not doing that again, you guys. We're not doing that again.
We have to do something. And so makers, and the last thing I'll say, and I want to make sure I'm also part of another group and that we're all connected. And so Makers for Kamala is talking about how we can use our making to spring into action. And so what I love about what Andrea and Allison are doing here is that we're not just, again, on the sidelines, we're moving into action, because action has impact.
Yeah.
So I get really excited about this. And so I hope you all are registered. I hope you check on your neighbors, check on your nieces and nephews and kids, get everybody involved, have conversations.
Exactly.
Stop the spread of misinformation, have honest conversations. I think that's so important.
Cecilia, I got chills while you were talking.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about that. But Ceci, I would love it if you had the time to type a little summary of that up. It was just perfectly said. We can send that out to everyone. That wasn't
yes.
Did you see? Can you guys see all the little emojis?
I know you're getting so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love all the little clapping hands.
I know.
Thank you too.
And
So-
then they explode. It's really cute. Okay, I'll stop dorking out.
Okay, so we have a lot on the agenda, and I honestly think Ceci hit it out of the park on why this election is so important. Democracy's on the line. There are 3 pillars that we're focusing. I think most pro-democracy organizations agree that there are 3 pillars of a democracy. That is freedom of speech, voting rights, and human rights. And all of those things are on the line in our country right now. And those are just essential things that I feel like everyone would want.
Yeah, and we
That's those
unfortunately,
hierarchy of needs. These are the basic foundation of your hierarchy of needs.
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And we don't get to choose who gets to vote. We all get to vote, even the people who vote differently than we do. That's what it's founded on. And once we start suppressing people, that's where we get problems. So, yay, I know, I'm so excited too.
Well,
Andrea.
yes, I'm just keeping an eye on the time.
Yeah.
I feel like that we're really grateful for you, Ceci, being here, because you said that more eloquently than any of us could have said it. And we would love to get that typed up and send out to people too. And we will circle back around at the end and talk more about the actionable things we can all be doing.
Or do we want to rearrange? We could just go right into that. It's up to you, Andrea.
Sure. Yeah, let's keep all the actionable
Keep it
democracy.
flowing.
Yes.
So why don't you lead off, or shall I? Either way.
I don't care. You go.
Okay. So our big focus this election is not just on knitting things. The biggest problem, I think, with the modern age that we live in is that sometimes we do things like post on social media and we get this feeling that we took action. But I'm going to be honest, just liking a post on social media or what have you, it's not what we need to be focused on. Now, it doesn't mean we shouldn't do it, but it's like the pussy hats, right? We all knit our little pussy hats and went out and marched, and there was a cool moment, but it didn't do anything. And so for us, we're really focused on action. And as Andrea was mentioning, there are a few states in particular where action is critical. And if you live in one of those states, heck, if you live in one of those states and you want help, let us know. We'll see if we can fit in a trip.
We've
But,
been talking about it seriously, going to Michigan and Pennsylvania.
So,
And
for example, Andrea and I have a trip to Ohio. For those who don't know, our family is from Ohio. We were born and raised there. And we think part of the reason that it goes red these days is because the 2 of us left. So anyway, while we're there, we're going to register some voters, and we're going to also share. So we have a kind of kit that you can use to register voters. So we're going to go do it. And then at our next meetup, we're going to report back and we're going to help you go do it too. And you don't have to go to Ohio unless you want to. I would love it though if we did make Ohio a swing state again. So that's one of the things we're going to do. We're going to talk about how we have conversations with people. I think a lot of us, especially introverts, so there are a lot of introverts in knitting, and a lot of us really hate conflict. I mean, I think a lot of people hate conflict, and talking about these things where people have such strong feelings can feel like conflict. And it's funny how even like engaging your dad who believes differently than you do, how quickly his voice volume goes up. But it's just a conversation. And so there are tools we can use to have, to invite people into conversation. And to think about the conversations that we do have. If they're with people we know, we want to have conversations that aren't arguments. So if you're conversing with our dad, you probably know that though he is a lovely human, he has never changed his mind about anything. And so to think that I am going to convince him to change his mind, it's a waste of my breath. However, I have plenty of cousins who might change their minds. And so I might want to focus my energy on, engaging them. So that's a little highlight with a lot of words. Can I pass it back to you?
Allison, if I could interject, I think you touched on two things that are really important, right? Like the going to where people are to have the conversations, but also what if you're introverted or what if you can't go? And so I held up these postcards that Nerd Makery made the last election. And so there's a website called Postcard for Voters where you can register and send a sample of your handwriting, and they will tell you where there's a critical swing state, a place where people need to be reminded of. And so from the comfort of your home, you can write postcards to people and they get in the mail, and it's like a reminder, and then and they tell you kind of like what's at stake in that state, so that you can tailor your postcard for where you are sending it. So that's another way, another action if you can't go or you're an introvert.
And Andrea, do you want to take it from?
Well, I'll just give an example. I am kind of I'm an introvert, and that I get energy from being by myself, but I do like talking to people. And so I have found that if I just have my knitting out in public, almost always the person will come to me. I mean, you guys have all experienced this probably. Like everyone wants to know what you're making. And so I have used my making in public to start a lot of these conversations that I've had with my neighbors. And, people in Oklahoma just assume that you think exactly like them because it is such a red state. But I think putting a face on this is what a Democrat is. It's hard to think we're evil, communist, leftists when they know that I let their dogs out when they were on vacation. So I'm gonna really focus on using my knitting to start conversations over the next few months, and that's one thing we'll try to. I like thinking that it is an experiment.
Yeah,
there's no right or wrong. You're just finding out what works and what doesn't. If it doesn't go well, you learn from it. You try a little something different the next time. And so I've done quite a few knitting conversation experiments that have gone really well.
I like, and I like that because that's something that I started doing and not even realizing. So I get to travel for work, and I've been traveling for a number of years. And whenever I travel to whatever state I go find a yarn store, which is how me knitting the world became a thing. And so in many times I sit at the table. And they're like, oh, what brings you here? I'm like, oh, I'm here, I'm recruiting, or I'm here for a conference or whatever. And then we start talking. And then as I've gotten to know more people who are in the knitting community, the knitting celebrities, and they're like, oh, I really want to make this Stephen West project. Oh, I know, I'm Stephen West. I made something from him as well. And then in that conversation, they're like, well, here's this woman who doesn't look like us, or is not from here, but she's doing the thing that we're doing. She knows the names that we know. Maybe she's not that different. She's different, but maybe we're not so extreme as you think. And so knitting, knit the world is not just going around the world and knitting, but it's bringing people together to have those conversations and doing what you're doing, Andrea, in a very, an innocent way, like, oh, I'm knitting, and let's start to talk.
Yeah.
I love that.
Bring it down.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, we can give you some tips on how to segue into conversations, because typically other people, I mean, there are some exceptions, but generally, if you're talking to another woman or whatever, often they don't thrive on conflict either. And so I was knitting my Kamala tee on the airplane, and the flight attendant was like, oh, what are you knitting? And I showed her, and I was like, it's Kamala. And I don't think that she was necessarily a supporter, which shocked me. I was like, but she didn't argue with me. She didn't say, oh, I hate her or whatever. She just said, that's interesting. So it's
It opens the door.
it does. It feels scary, but generally, if you have that underlying assumption, which I know can be a big assumption, but that most people are good, that even the ones you disagree with generally are good. There are those that aren't, but it's a little less scary if you go into it with that mindset.
I like that.
So,
Innocent.
Andrea, do you want to keep on this line? Should we? What do you think?
Yeah. So basically what we're going to do is we are going to make a list of actionable things that you can do, and we're going to assign points to them, and we will give out prizes. And we are actually still in the process of organizing this into a more perfect vision. But for now, we can say that you will earn points for knitting your sweater.
Yep.
You will earn points if you pick up a copy of Kamala's book,
I love that.
The Truths We Hold.
We
The truth
Hold.
we know.
She narrates the audio version, which I listened to, and I loved listening to her tell her own story. There was so much in there that I didn't know that she had done at different parts in her career. And there was a lot about like the housing crisis that I didn't really even understand that very well when it was happening, because I was living overseas and just it wasn't affecting us in Italy.
Yeah, Andrea was watching another democracy crumble at that time.
Yeah, a couple of them were crumbling over there when I was watching. So pick up a copy of her book if you haven't already. I love supporting her book. Like,
Me too.
has it gotten to the top of Amazon sales yet? I really hope
Make
so.
that happen.
Yeah.
And you know what? And we could even in our later calls where we talk about the sweater and our progress, for those of us who are reading the book, we could have a little book chat.
Yes.
That's the plan. And so we have in the email that we sent out, there was a recommended reading guide. So, and I think for next time, which is September 10th. Oh, look, there it is. Look at that picture of her.
I love that
So
picture.
adorable. So adorable.
Melts my heart.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think for the next meeting, you just have to cover the first 2 chapters pretty much. And Andrea, if you're not reading along, that's fine. Andrea and I, oh, look, Shannon's holding hers up. Andrea and I will be highlighting some of our favorite parts. And if you have some favorite excerpts or quotes, you're welcome to bring those along too. If you read the book, you'll get points. If you read the book in public, you can get more points.
And that's another thing. You don't have to just use your knitting. Having that book out in public is also a conversation starter. Because when people want to say, I don't like her, can they give you specifics? They don't know anything about her.
They don't. It's about some perception that's not based on anything other than media coverage or
That's why education is so important,
Yeah.
right? And not just, and also, I'm glad you mentioned media coverage, because also paying attention, right? Because I saw this in Hillary when she was running, and I'm seeing it even worse here with Kamala. Pay attention to how the news talks about her.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the language that they use, the misogynistic, racist, boldly. It's not even like it's not even.
Yeah, it's not even subtle
It's not even-
sometimes. Yeah.
like with Hillary, like you have to listen, like, oh, it's aggressive, blah, blah, right? It's those words. But with Kamala, like they're doubting everything about her, and she's overqualified for this role.
It's incredible.
And so pay attention to how the media is talking about her. And so know your facts, so that when you do find yourself in a conversation because you were knitting or you had her book, and as they said, someone's like, I don't like her. Well, why? Oh, she did this. Well, actually, that's not what she did. Here's what she did. Or what has she done for Black people?
Yeah.
I can tell you the things she's done. What has she done for the poor working class? I'm sorry. I have friends who I've been with who got an email while I'm with them to say that student loan has been canceled, right? So I know people who are benefiting from the Biden White House, but a lot of that was what Kamala was doing. And now she's stating she's going to continue that. So like, I think the book is a great place to start, so that and again, and I didn't even think about it. I wanted to contribute to her making the Times bestseller list, and so I bought the hard copy of the book. But I'm probably gonna just walk around with the hard copy, but have it on audio so that I can knit.
That's what we did. We both have both versions because sometimes it's hard to bookmark things when you're listening to it. So then I like to have the hard copy.
I like to have both as well. Yeah.
But I will also, yeah, I'll just say, sometimes not even, if you recognize that people are forming opinions based on nothing, you can shape their opinions based on nothing. So you don't even necessarily, it's great to talk about her qualifications and all the reasons she's amazing, but you can also just tell people the reasons you love her.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend of mine who's kind of an asshole, excuse my language. I love him, but he's an asshole. And he was like, but I don't like her. She's not likable. And I'm like, oh, I love her. And then I just started telling him all the reasons that I love her. Like, I just think, she's always smiling. She's, full of joy. She's bringing this feeling of hope and inspiration that this country sorely lacks.
Unless she's questioning Brett Kavanaugh, then she's not smiling, and she also is a badass.
Oh yeah, no, I love her. I actually told him that too. I'm like, and she brings exactly the right amount of bitch.
Allison, I'm liking the side of you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So anyway, but yeah, don't be afraid to just talk about the also intangible reasons that you love her.
Yeah.
And someone dropped in the chat like she made them question their lives, which I LOL'd.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? It's kind of like the Lord of the Rings. Every one of us has our part. We may not be big like her, but we are in this together. You may be feeling like little Frodo, or I feel a little bit more like Sam, but we are all on the same journey together. And even the small of us, the small ones of us, we all play our part. And you never know. It's like that little guy that was throwing the starfish into the ocean. You never know what one person you may impact. It matters to them.
That's right.
It does.
Awesome. Okay, so for next week, to earn points, you can work on your tea. You don't get points for working on it, but you do get points for finishing it.
Actually, we could do sections completed.
Do I get a point for swatching? Because I never swatch.
Yeah, absolutely. You get a point for swatching for sure. And then we encourage you to check out the book, either hard copy or audio. And if you listen to the book, you get points. And we'll give you more next week. We'll unveil more about the points next time. You're in charge of tracking your own. It's on our system. Don't cheat. We don't allow cheaters. Yeah. And because we're getting a little tight on time, I think, Andrea, do we want to switch to the project or neutrino? Which should we start with?
Let's start with the project. Let's just talk people through it. I think 90% of people should do our recommended method. Yeah.
So I recognize a lot of people here because I've been fielding some questions by email. So it's fun to put faces to names. But so the tea in general, it's meant to have some positive ease, and so you if you need help choosing your size, you're looking for something that has a little extra width, and it's going to be knit top down. When you finish all the yoke increases, so you're going to do the yoke, split for the sleeves. Some sizes still have there are no increases after the split. So then you're going to knit the rest of the way down. We recommend that 90% of people should knit the tee first and then use duplicate stitch to add the image. And oh, poop. I was going to bring my dad tee to show people. But the fun thing about duplicate stitch is that you can do some improvisation if you want, if you don't want to do every stitch, like if you want to do the hair, using longer strands. Oh, here. Oh, wait,
hold on.
It clicked off.
I'll get it back. There it is. The dad.
Yeah, so it's hard to see there, but for my dad tee that I made, I used long strands on the hair, and it gives it this kind of 3D texture. So those are the kinds of things you can do when you're doing duplicate stitch. There are two versions of, what's that?
Cool.
Yeah. There are two versions of the chart provided. One is what most people will use, which is the right side up one. And it's, once you're done with your T, you're going to just duplicate stitch that right on. If you are an advanced knitter who is comfortable improvising and doing things on the fly, we did include an upside down one in case you want to knit it while you go. But I'm going to just advise you can't just strand like normal because the image is huge. It has long chunks of one color and it doesn't go all the way around. Yeah. So Andrea's
That's
all.
that's the stitch, Andrea, or did you go around?
No, so this is ladder back jacquard
I
that
don't know.
Andrea is sewing. And we do have a blog post on our website about it if that's something you want to try. And so essentially if you do that, you're going to just join the contrast color every row, knit across and use ladder back to catch the unused yarn. When you're doing ladder back jacquard, you need to pull things really tight. It's going to feel too tight, but it loosens up when you're done there because there's nothing holding those ladder backs together. So Andrea came out a bit.
I'm a loose knitter, and my ladder back was even looser. So
Andrea is the loosest knitter.
my combo came out a little.
Yeah. So that's why we don't recommend it for most people. It is pretty advanced. And it's not hard once you know how to do it.
It looks good.
It looks
It
really
looks
good. So yeah. So in the pattern itself, actually maybe shall I do my little demo? Since we're talking about it.
Yes, we'll do a little demo of Neutrino, and if you have questions, drop them in the chat.
Okay, I'm gonna see if it will let me share my screen. I should have. Ha! You should have tried this out. It's a new version of the app, which it made me install. And it may not let me share my screen.
Well, while you're doing that,
Yes. Share screen, found it.
Good.
Yay.
Start broadcast. Okay. Sorry. Let's see if this works. So for the ladder back, there's a question. For the ladder back, you don't carry the contrast color all the way, the way we did it. We joined every row and then cut it after. So essentially you mark off on the front of your sweater where that image goes. And Andrea, you don't have the one I did handy, do you? The I think the pink one was the one that I did.
Yeah, let me go get it.
Oh, what? Can you guys
Elsie,
see
you
my
could-
phone screen, or is it tiny?
And you could take me off,
Okay.
so you could unpin me so that you get more.
Yeah, and I'll
I'll still be here, but you can go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. I'll unpin us too,
Okay.
just temporarily. I'm gonna unpin me. Andrea's gonna show you while we're talking about ladder back jacquard. So essentially, I'm gonna just exit here. And I'm gonna go
What do you want to see?
Yeah, so this is the pink one. And if you see, hold it up so you can see the top of her head, just from the outside. I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's this little pucker row all the way across the top of her head. And that's where I started my ladder back. So I just added little contrasting pink stitches all the way across, and you just carry it across the front, where her hang on, I gotta admit someone, where her face is, and then you cut it. And so the hard part is anchoring those ends. You can either weave them in as you go, which is what Andrea did and works really well. I did something much harder, but it worked. It gave me a better result. So all right, so can you all see my screen? Maybe I'll pin my oh, what did I do?
You put us all on, so now it's gallery.
Oh
So
no, how do I
it's okay.
I don't know how. Oh no, how do I go back? Change my view. Sorry, everyone.
I like seeing everyone.
I do too, but oh, here it is. Pin. Okay, there we go. Ah, look, there I am. That's annoying. Oh, man. Okay. It used to be you could collapse that. There we go. I accidentally clicked on something. back. All right. So just a quick intro to Neutrino here, because I know there are a lot of new people, and I just want to cover a few important things. So to get started, if you haven't yet started a project, you can just, I have a lot. You'll probably just see yours there. But you can just search for it. And I was in my library, and that's going to pull up. This looks just like the pattern shop listing. So before you bought it, it's the same kind of screen. There's just a little more here. But I just want to show that down here, you can actually look at the schematic and compare the different sizes. So if you notice, as I click across here and I'm scrolling to see more sizes, all the measurements and yardages are changing. So that's a good way to compare to see which size you want. And when you're ready to get started, you're just going to click this green plus button down here in the corner, and that's going to create your project for you. And the reason you do this is because we show only one size at a time. So you're going to pick the size you want. I'm going to pick a medium. And then here you can change your yarn colors. So the one shown in the sample is this teal with the dark gray, but maybe I'm doing, I don't know, pink. So you can just kind of slide things around and set your colors. I'm going to make this a bright pink like that. It's probably pretty ugly, but that's fine. And then when you're ready, you tap Let's Go. And that's going to bring you into the active project. So this is like where the magic happens. You can edit those colors again if you want. It's a little hard to see, but there's this edit pencil up here in the upper right. And that will let you edit your yarn colors again if you want. Yeah, I don't know. You can also add your own images. You can edit all the other project details as well down here. And then, oops, I deleted all my photos, but that's fine. And then when you want to start knitting, you're going to scroll down here to the bottom, and it says choose a section to knit. You can either pick a section from here or just tap the project tab in the very bottom, and that will either bring you to the first section or the last section you worked on. So if you're returning to a project, just tap project and it's going to open wherever you left off. You'll see that we provide a swatch here, and it's just a stockinette swatch. You don't have to use the one we provide, but I'm just showing you this because it shows you the row by row instructions, both the written instructions down here in the green box and the charted instructions. So if you're a visual learner, that may help. And anytime you don't know how to do something, you're just going to click on the little stitch image in the active row, and it's going to pop up a video that shows you how to do it. And we have videos for both right and left-handed users. So if you're a lefty, our videos are all for mirror knitting. So if you're a lefty, you're just going to skip, to the 57-second mark, and that's going to show you the left-handed version. Hey, love all the love. Now, when you're done with your cast on, you just swipe this box from right to left, and it's going to advance you to the next row. Now, this swatch is worked flat, so it's red zigzag. And so the wrong side rows are shown hashed. It might be a little hard to see here. But again, if you don't know what something is, you just click on it and it's going to tell you. So this is knitting on the wrong side, which looks like a purl bump on the right side, just like the real world. When you're done with your section, you you can swipe all the way up to the top, or I'm going to move that. You can also just click the number next to the row you want to jump to, and that'll skip ahead or back. You can do the same thing going back. And when you're done, you're just going to swipe this last box from right to left, and that's going to pop up the congratulatory confetti. Yay, you did it. And then you can move to the next section. So here we have this half section that I added later. This is just if you want to practice your duplicate stitch. You can see, there we go. You can see how to do it. And this is just telling you it's your swatch. So jump ahead to row 11. Oops, I jumped to row 12. And then you can click any of these little duplicate stitches and it's going to show you. I just made this video. It shows you how to do this whole duplicate stitch swatch and gives you some suggestions. So you can see this one's a much longer video. Oh, I forgot to put the left-handed's in there too. So, but it gives you some tips for getting a good result. So I suggest doing that before you do your Kamala tea, just to make sure you're happy with how it's looking. And then the other thing that you can do is long tap any stitch, and it's going to pop up a little notepad. So you can add a little note, like let's say you stop, somebody just emailed me about this. They stopped in the middle of a row and wanted to know how to mark their place. This is how you would do it. And it adds a little yellow visual cue for you. And then if you click over to the notepad, you'll see the little note I just left, and it tells me where it is in my pattern. So again, I just long tapped on any stitch to pop up that notepad. Gosh, I think that's just about everything. If you're knitting along and you do have questions, so if you have questions about how to read the charts or whatever, oh, I'm going to add one more thing here that I overlooked. We have a quick start guide as well. I'll add a link to that here. But if you're new to reading knitting charts, there's this blog post on our website that tells you a lot more about you know, what the charts mean, how to use them, and then you can also get to the quick start guide from there, but I'll add a link directly in the pattern. You can also email us. So if you have a question, just email us and it'll open your default email. Send us an email. We'll get back to you. Questions?
So, yes. First of all, there are a lot of people new to Neutrino. If you have any questions at all, Allison and I try to answer them very fastly and And by Allison and I mean Allison answers questions really quickly. It's like some kind of superpower she inherited that I did not. But yeah, please send us all your questions. A few people wanted to know if there was a printable chart. I think we could just attach that in the next email. We do have a printable chart.
We have, it's just the chart. We don't, there's not a printable version of
No, they were just asking for the chart.
Yeah, so that's one thing. This app is nothing like a PDF, and it, you know, to print, you don't need an app for that. So, but we can't print. That's the thing. So we do have a version of this chart. It's going to be huge and take a minute to load. Oh, look at and you can test your colors together this way too. Yeah,
I like that.
There you go.
Allison, somebody had a really good question in the chat about, do we want to create a Discord or a place where we can come together?
So we do have a Slack channel that I'm open to inviting people to join. We have a pretty active group there already, and we can certainly share that. I can send that out in the follow-up email. But yeah, oh, I was going to show you the, why is this not, oh, there we go. Oh, because I have her backwards. I have my colors backwards. I was like, why doesn't this look right? So she's kind of negative space. And you can zoom all the way out here. These buttons at the top let you adjust the zoom. So I clicked the yellow button, which zooms all the way. It fits the chart to the screen as best as it can. You can click this gray button as well, and that will let you customize your zoom. So it's a slidey scale. And what else? Other questions? So I will say right now, if I exit this project, which is going to take a minute because those charts are so big. It's going to show in my in progress tab. To get it to move over to the completed tab, like, oh, look at my photo. Isn't that pretty? To get things to move to the completed tab, you need to mark all the sections complete. So generally that's when you finish a pattern, it automatically moves there. But sometimes like this one that has some sections you won't complete, like you're only going to do one of these Kamala charts, you'll just need to manually mark it complete, and then I'll move over. Other questions? Woo, we're almost out of time. I took all the time.
Is there a video on the ladder back?
Yes, it's all let me figure out how to post a link, but I'll put it in this same location. I'll replace the Stitch dictionary button and put it in there in case anybody wants to use it. The orange arrow on the top left of the chart screen isn't really used a lot. Early on, we didn't have all the same flexibility we have now. And so it lets you return to the beginning of the row. Oops, hang on, I was jumping the gun. Give me 1 second to load. So big. Okay, so like if you're all the way over here and then you need to go back to the beginning of the row, this orange button just scrolls you to the beginning of the row. And if you're knitting flat on the wrong side rows, the beginning of the row is the other side. And so it will return you to the other side. But yeah, it just takes you back to the start of the row. And again, it's not something we really use a lot, but I'm trying to think of other things. But you saw in mine, you can add your own photos, which is really fun. Andrea really likes to curate her projects so that they all have pictures of her animals. Yeah, anything else? Any other questions?
I think people are excited. I think, again, this is going to be my third project using the app, and I've seen the app come, I've been connected to Andrea and Allison since the early days.
Yeah.
And so I've definitely seen the evolution of the app, and it's very user friendly. And I love having the videos right there.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's one of my favorite features. And I also love the being able to, here we're only using 2 colors, but I've done projects with their with their app where I'm doing 6 colors. Yeah. And it was great to put in the 6 colors and also see what my project will look like and move things around. So
it saves you a lot of time swatching, I'll tell you that.
I love it.
So just a couple other questions here that have popped up. You can't see other people's projects in the app. Maybe someday. The videos do not work offline. They are massive, and to download them would take up all the space on your phone. So you do need internet. You need internet to use Neutrino. We want to build an offline mode, but I don't know if I said we spent our life savings building this app, and that was a very limited life savings. So and Julie mentioned Sprouts. We are solely funded by us. There's no outside investment, no billionaire backing us. And that's part of why I want to just say thank you so much for being here. It means so much to us. And if you want to see all these other cool things, like all the things we can't do yet, like offline mode, the best way to do that is to support us. You can join our Sprouts monthly club. Every purchase you make, we joke, it's like the angels in heaven rejoicing. Like we know every time we make a sale, and Andrea and I text each other. We're like, oh my God. So it's really meaningful. We're a super small business, and we just thank you so much for supporting us. So Andrea, let me stop sharing. Can I?
Yeah, well, we were going to play a game and have prizes, but we're out of time.
We'll do that for next time.
Yes. And we could do something on Instagram, like choose a winner from Instagram posts. Is everyone on Instagram? I think most people probably are. But regardless, we would love to see your progress. So I just finished my collar during this meeting. So if you are in progress, we would love for you to take a picture. Dorian is almost done. Julie, I know Julie's already finished one.
Oh, Fiona was holding hers up. Dory's holding hers up.
Dory's looks great. Dory, that looks really great.
Cheryl,
for the person who was asking about seeing others, if we're on Instagram and we're using the hashtag, we can do that, and you can fix your Instagram so that when people post, it automatically comes up to your feed.
Yep. You can add hashtags to follow.
Hashtag to follow, yeah.
Awesome. Yes. And Yes, and there was one other question about marking the front. Yeah, it tells you if you skip to the duplicate section, it's 56 stitches wide. So you want to mark the 56 stitches wide. You can do that with a long strand of yarn. I usually use pins in my work. The hashtag to use on Instagram is Freedom Knitters Tea. Also, Andrea, what else are you using?
We choose Freedom KAL and variations of all those things.
Yeah.
Couple.
So just check Andrea's the Neutrino posts. They have the right ones. Andrea is always using the right ones. I try to avoid social media, so I'm the
Should
anti-social.
be answering your emails. I'll be your Instagram host.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thanks again. Like, I mean, all my love to you guys for being
And Rhinebeck, if you guys are, I know a lot of you are in New York. You said that in the chat. Rhinebeck is the New York Sheep and Wool Festival every October. On October 19th is the Saturday. We're going to organize a meetup on the hill. You guys, I think it will be amazing if we can get a group photo of all these sweaters. That's going to say something like that. You know, people can tweet in 2 seconds their opinion, but we just spent 50 hours knitting our opinions on who we think should be running this country. And that means something.
It does. It does. I think don't underestimate the power of what we're doing. It's small. We're just knitters, but I'm going to try not to curse. It's incredible.
Queen City and the Yarn Truck Adventures. And I think, Kim, are you going to SAFF? Someone else was going to the Asheville Festival. So yeah, and we've been thinking, should we show up at Dallas Fort Worth? Again, learning how not to get shot is an important life skill I have crafted.
Yeah. Awesome.
But one other thing. I can't
remember. Go ahead.
I can't remember. It's gone.
All right. Well, she's going to think of it. In the meantime, thank you guys. You know, feel empowered and encouraged. The thing that they've always done is to underestimate women.
Oh, that's the thing. We have a really awesome special guest lined up for is that next week?
Yes, it's the next time. So
Kim is going to be a special guest. Kim is also our special guest. She's also awesome.
Yes, we're going to have Kim as our special guest next time. And also Leah Littman, the host of Strict Scrutiny, the podcast on the Supreme Court. I am a super fan, so I'm really excited. But yes, so please feel free to join us. And let's show them why they should have never underestimated us.
Yes.
Right? Let's do it. All right, go do it. Knit.
Good job, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Ceci. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.